My brain's splitting off in so many different directions. My brain's splitting off in so many different. My brain's splitting off in so many different directions that no one has the answers to. So many different. My dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Certain things upset me. And my dad was a shrink. Things upset me. What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? What's the furthest star, and then what's beyond the furthest star? Questions that no one has the answers to.
Hello and welcome to Everything to Guppy, the podcast where we talk about every single item, every single enemy, every single everything in the Binding of Isaac. I'm William Hughes, and I'm joined, as always, by a guy who will never be duped, Gary Butterfield. You get it, Gary? Like the X-Statix character dupe? This is kind of what I was going for with that one. Pretty good joke.
I wasn't expecting it to respond to me.
I have not. I only listened to the first one to get the volume level. I had no idea that was about to happen. Thank you, Will.
Thank you, Will.
This is Days of Future Cast, if you couldn't tell from our extended intro that said we were everything to Guppy. I'm Jeremy, that's Gary, and we're going to talk about X-Statix.
Yeah. The Rubicon. The river this series kind of crosses, like it's big kind of like trouble when it came out.
So you've been kind of mentioning how this is the thing that is kind of derails this issue. Can you explain some of the backstory and what's going on here for those of us that may not know?
Yeah. This is the beginning of an arc, a pretty long arc called Back from the Dead. And originally this was pitched and solicited and supported by editorial as an arc called Die Another Day, in which Princess Di comes back to life and joins X-Statix. And Peter Milligan did a bunch of interviews and he was like, this is going to be perfect. Princess Di is exactly the kind of like shallow, celebrity famous for being famous kind of caricature that like I'm making fun of in this, but she's British. And I want to talk a little bit about like the British attitude towards that and like kind of satirize my home country, things like that. And they did the solicits for it. They did the interview for it. There's art you can find out there. And then editorial went, wait a minute, nah, we're just kidding. Like, we can't do that. That's in bad taste. She was really beloved. So after this arc was more than halfway written, they had to go back and rewrite it to make it not quite Princess Di. But it's very clearly Princess Di. Like, it looks like a brunette Princess Di. There are all these like very obvious kind of signs of it being her. But they got cold feet and they fucked it up.
That is wild. Because I didn't pick up on the Princess Di thing at all. Like I was reading this character. It was just like, what is like, I kind of assumed that it was like a British royalty kind of like skewer or whatever, but it didn't click with Princess Di. That is fucking wild.
Isn't it? It's as an idea, like I would have liked to have read that comic because it's like this arc, like as much as I think this arc is like largely unsuccessful, there are jokes in it I think are really funny. And I couldn't help but think like this would be the kind of like super wacky, pretty funny thing that they would do with the next major arc. But I think this probably just really, really, there are signs of this being rewritten. The pacing is a little bit sloppy. The story is a little bit dumb. Mm-hmm. It basically bisects in half. Like the story is kind of one story and then it meanders to another story. In a way that you can tell like there was originally going to be a different ending for this. There's like 3 plots in this. Like it's the initial plot. There's this whole thing with like Mr. Code. And then there's this whole Ring parody thing at the end. And it's somebody being like, hey, you can't do the ending, write a new ending, but it can't be anything like the original one, on a deadline. Like it shows signs of this being serial and being published monthly. And again, just like editorial interference because Marvel decided to be cowards.
That is just absolute insanity to me. Like that you would go that far and be like, sure. Nope. Not at all. Not at all.
It's really unfair.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like you should have never let the idea get off the ground to begin with, right? Like you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like you should have squashed this in like the pitch meeting because, and like there's a part of me that I have no love for the British royalty or anything, but like, and I'm not well educated enough on Princess Diana to pass any judgment on the woman at all, but like she was kind of a beloved character, and like based on what they're doing here, it kind of does feel like character assassination to a degree, like to just completely lampoon her in a comic book. Like, I don't know, man. Like, you just don't. Like, you just wouldn't, if you're not going to do it, like if you're as an editorial board, if you're not going to do it, then you squash the idea way before it comes to this part where you actually have to like redo stuff. Like, I can't imagine anybody at Marvel being like, yeah, that's cool ever. Like, yeah.
By any reckoning, they did Peter Milligan pretty dirty
Mm-hmm.
with this, and Mike Allred. And in terms of like whether it was okay or in too bad taste in the first place, it's always like a line, kind of thing. Like, you could do this. Like, what if it had been John F. Kennedy? Like the movie like retconned JFK to have been a mutant that was assassinated.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's far enough in the past where it's okay. But Princess Di, that was only in the 90s. Like, we can't do that. I think that my suspicion is the real reason this got shut down is because it deals really directly with kind of conspiracies that the people in power in Britain like had her killed,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a pretty popular conspiracy theory, when you look in the details of her death. And I think that might be what ultimately shut it down. It wasn't just that it was bad taste, it was that it implicates people in power and the British government.
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
Yeah.
Like, Marvel probably doesn't want to piss off the royal crown, like, for all of its reduced power.
Or the Marvel England wars.
Avengers versus England on newsstands everywhere. Not even like Captain Britain, just England.
Yeah, just everyone. Hey, what?
Wait a minute. What?
Pip, pip.
Have you?
It's a bit of Thor, isn't it?
Have you watched any of The Crown? I don't know if
No.
the Netflix show. So Autumn is real big into, like, she likes watching that kind of stuff. And so we watched the first couple of seasons. But the recent season like did a big time jump. So that now it's like in the 80s, Princess Diana is around, and also Gillian Anderson is playing Margaret Thatcher. Yeah, which is the only way to get me to watch anything with Margaret Thatcher in it. I'm like, but also I kind of like, I feel like if she makes me feel any sympathy for that horrible woman, I'm just going to get mad at it. Like, I'm really like, it's a really weird casting call, right?
Yeah, I'm out. Yeah. It's just really weird arc. There's not a lot of like detail in interviews that have come out afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
So no, I don't know what the original storyline was going to be. I just know it wasn't going to be this.
Interesting.
And given that like this is kind of the point in which I feel like the book kind of like loses its focus a little bit. Like, this arc, there are parts of it I really like, but it's pretty messy. And then we do some more of these one-offs, and then he's just like, I'm out. Like, I'm going to do one last big story, and then I'm out. And it's okay. Like, the book ends, when all the characters are basically, he's made his point.
Mm-hmm.
And it's okay, but it's still disappointing as something that I really like, that it doesn't, that has this kind of spot on it. It reminds me a lot of like David Bowie's career, which like started really good, but then had that, period from 1980 to 1992 or whatever, which is like rough stuff, and then ended really good.
Yeah. As a teapot.
Yeah. Exactly.
So the cover of this are all of our team members of X-Statix, like, kind of milling around in what is very obviously like a museum or an art gallery, and dressed relatively nicely, while this painting of a woman with her, which is obviously Princess Diana, but like with black hair, with her hand coming out of a painting. It's really weird. When I saw this, I was like, okay, let's sign me up for some fucking weirdness. I'm into it.
Yeah.
And then like got very confused as I kept reading.
Yeah. So we get into it. We get the this improvised backdrop of what happened to her. This first person narration from this character, Henrietta Hunter, instead of Princess Di, who is both has to be like a British kind of like rich person, upper class British person. She has to have an ancestral estate, for this to work, but also is a pop star.
Yep.
And also is a philanthropist.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about how she wanted to make things, better for people less fortunate than her, etc. When she gets killed on stage with a microphone, and it's like, I found myself in a long, dark tunnel, and there's a little page here. I'm like, oh yeah, but Princess Di died in a tunnel crash of paparazzi. Like, fuck, man.
Jesus Christ.
Really reusing some of this art.
Okay. Yeah. I guess I should have talked to you about this before because I had no clue, and I just started reading this and was like, "What in the hell is going on? Like, who are these people? Like, what is happening?"
No, it's okay, because if you were having the experience that anyone would have just getting the comic if they didn't like read the comics journal and shit, like I just was really involved in comics meta, at the time.
Yeah.
She goes into her ancestral home, which straight up has like a Princess Di cameo above the door. Very recognizable, talking about how this is where she was buried. And she goes to go find a new body to inhabit. And it's a random body. It's not her body, that she finds, but she makes the body look like her.
Via the sound effect, skig.
Skig.
Please no skiggy.
No skiggy. I like her setting up when going ta-da. I think that's a good touch.
That is good.
And we're introduced to our kind of antagonists for this arc. These two people who are British, stand-ins for like British government agents.
Yeah.
Supposed to be like old Britain. And here it's called Europa is the country, the fictional country they use. And they do they're like, does the president know about this? Like they're not saying, does the Queen know about this? As they would. This is Dickie and Reggie. These two people. They're talking about how they're handling the press, like, in our typical customized, civilized European fashion, and just gunning everybody down.
Yeah.
Who knows about it?
And like including the like morgue person. It's like, you can't say anything. Do you understand? And then they just shoot them. It's like, I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah.
And then our Reggie and Dickie assume that means that everything is under control. And that's where we jump over to LA to start talking about X-Statix, where the press is asking Mr. Sensitive about a super secret meeting to Europe. And Mr. Sensitive is like, you got to talk to our team leader about that. Like, I'm not the leader of the team anymore. That's the anarchist. And the anarchist is extremely mad that they have to go and babysit some dag-burned white bread pop star who is so good she makes Kelly Clarkson look like 50 Cent.
I don't know what that means. I don't know enough about the relative qualities of Kelly Clarkson or 50 Cent to know who's being insulted in that sentence.
I think both of them probably are. Like if he told 50 Cent he was being compared to Kelly Clarkson anyway, he would probably be like, no, man, that's not cool.
Go to Fallujah and shoot you for like a whole game.
Yeah, dude.
You'd have blood in the sand.
Bring back Def Jam fighting 50. It can only be you. It can only be you.
Spike is saying like, hey, we're actually going to go to Europe because we found out she's, alive and she's about to be assassinated by her country again. This is a mutant rescue mission, and Professor X is there. He's like, yeah, she's probably a mutant. She probably has the X gene, so we have to save her.
This is like, as I was reading this, as again, just coming into this completely cold, like I picked this stuff off the newsstand, not knowing any of the meta stuff around it. Like, you're going on a mutant rescue operation for someone who's probably a mutant, like Professor X. I got like Magneto's not doing anything right now. like we've got eyes on Juggernaut, and he is just like making bacon at the house, right? Like you guys don't have anything else going on. Omega Red is like at knitting class or something, and you guys have time to do
Omega
this.
Red's doing his book club.
Yeah, like what?
Omega Red would brothers cars about. Yeah, this is, and again, it would make sense if Professor X was insisting they go rescue Princess Di, because Princess Di being a mutant would be like a big deal. Like I can imagine this whole panel with the exact same layout, with just different dialogue, where he's like, yeah, but this is huge for mutant kind. We have to do this. Like, she's one of the most famous and beloved politicians. Like, this will have huge strides. Do this, even though you're shallow and fame obsessed, do this for mutants, as a personal favor. But as is, it's just weird.
Yeah, exactly.
They teleport there. They kill all the killers, all the gunmen here, and they meet Henrietta here, and they kind of introduce the team here, talking about how they're all mortal, and they grab Henrietta / Princess Di. and say like, we got to get out of here. Let's roll. And they have this fun little thing where she's like, just like riding the Concorde, as she's covering up her nudity with a sheet as they teleport out.
Yeah, just again to like talk about how disjointed this is, like introducing these characters in the middle. Like I just had no, like I was like, yeah, no, and I get like saying that they're all mortal and like they can't come back to life and all this other stuff, except for the case of Dead Girl. Like I get what they're doing. It just like reading this, I'm like, what is happening? Like, what am I supposed to be getting out of this? It was a really strange experience today as I was going through this.
It doesn't make tons of sense. So they get there, the team is still upset, like just basically saying like, we don't want to babysit. This is just a zombie pop star. We don't want to babysit her. We don't like her. And she's very upset about this. They're not sure exactly why they wouldn't like her. Again, if this was Princess Di, they would maybe not like her because she is way more beloved than they are and famous for being famous in a way that kind of holds up a mirror.
Yeah.
Xavier
comes out and says, like, I've done all the tests and Henrietta is definitely a mutant just like the rest of us. But she doesn't know what her powers are unless they're just the power of empathy, which is what she's suggesting. Yeah. Like I can understand people's suffering and people's pain, and I can also know how to make catchy pop records, which is just like, again, if this hadn't been based on something, like if they had actually written this just to be weird, like would be a lot more fun. But as is, like I'm just kind of stuck in between what these two things are, which knowing the backstory of this is blowing my mind, Gary. Like it's like reading this all over again.
The idea of Princess Di having the power of empathy is funny, as somebody who did a lot of very, very somebody who is the opposite of charity should be done in private. So she goes on Lacuna and the Stars, of course, called the most photographed woman in the world. Again, another little hint as to who this really is. And the unfortunate thing is the president, or these two British guys have been watching it.
Yes.
Watching her go on this show. And it's like, she's back. She's a mutant. She's on a chat show tour of America. We have to kill her.
Yep. They actually have to finish the job that they started. In LA, she's like out to eat at a swanky restaurant with Spike when one of the waiters busts open a gun and tries to shoot her. But Dupe swoos in to save her, and then eats the guy that tried to kill her right in front of her, which is very funny.
Yeah, very good. And they're covering all of her stuff. Basically saying like, this is there's been an attempt on her life. She was wearing a sensational gown by J-Lo's favorite designer, Marco. Like basically just the fame cycle is going absolutely wild with this, and Spike recruits her. Basically says, hey, people who want to kill her, she's under X-Statix protection. She's officially part of the team, and I own the team. They do what I say.
Yeah, which obviously pisses off the team when they see this on the news, to the point that Venus de Milo teleports him in midair and is threatening to drop him on the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, they basically say, he's going to kill him. And he says, no, you should consider this. Her Q rating is off the charts. Since we're the most celebrity obsessed manipulators of fame, fortune, and media, that little pop star can teach us a thing or two. She's going to be, we can learn from her way of doing things. And they're skeptical of this.
Yes. Like they don't really believe that at all. We go over to Europa, where Reggie has stripped off all of his clothing and armed himself. He's got guns on both ankles. He's got 2 guns in his hand. He's got like can't remember what those straps are called. The ammo strap going across your bandolier. Thank you. He's got one of those on, but he's also like naked except for his underwear. Whereas Dickie is like completely just dressed like a normal British dude.
British dude, and he's just like, our assassin failed. That settles it. I'll do it myself. Which is just a funny little comedy scene. Mm-hmm. Reggie just being, I have no idea you wore tartan underpants. I'm a man of many surprises. For instance, I am a highly trained, highly efficient killer, who is pushing 80.
Yeah.
They basically, they're saying like, why would we kill her? And she puts on the TV and she's going to spill. She says, before I was murdered, some high-ranking members of Europa's establishment tried to stop me from doing my good work. They offered me money. They threatened me. Some propositioned me when I was only 15. And I'll be naming names on my next talk with Ricky Lake. So she's basically going to spill the beans.
I love the line in response, like, wow, Henrietta and Ricky Lake, 2 celebrities back from the dead on one show. Like, Ricky Lake is such a hugely, like, weird, specific time. Like, I can remember, like, exactly when that happened. Like, when Ricky Lake became a thing and people, like, you couldn't watch a stand-up routine without someone dropping a Ricky Lake joke for some reason. Like, it was just a really weird time in pop culture.
My mom loved Ricky Lake.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah. Like that was on all the time at my house. Absolutely adored Ricky Lake. So, they're trying, they're saying like, hey, we have to fight fire with fire. We have to assemble a team. And Spike Freeman shows up and says like, I've got a team for you. They're like, Spike Freeman, I read about you in the Financial Times. You're a cross between Bill Gates and Satan. And he goes, Bill Gates is a cross between Bill Gates and Satan.
Ricky Lake is
he's basically
I'm sorry I did this, but I had to look up Ricky Lake Twitter, and just in the last 3 weeks she has 2 tweets about Bitcoin. So if you I was fully expecting like Trumpism from Ricky Lake, like that's what I was almost guaranteed to have, and then like no, it's fucking Bitcoin. Like, oh, there's another one.
My new crypto Ricky Lake coin.
November 18th, November 20th. Like, this is fucking wild.
I had no idea.
Anyway, sorry.
That's really weird.
Yeah. Back to the podcast. I'm closing Ricky Lake's Twitter.
it's okay. But basically, like what he's doing, he's showing these show reels. We're doing a classic X-Statix team introduction through a sizzle reel. And the reason why he's doing this is because he wants the rights. He's basically saying like, I'm going to give you this team to fight my team because I want the entertainment rights, because that's what this is all about. And we're introduced to the Eurotrash.
I love the Eurotrash as a team name. That's so good.
The Eurotrash are really good. We got Ms. Tree, who was another tree lady. We got The Wall, who was this like preeminent leftist thinker with the Berlin Wall fell on him, and he became part of it, which I like a lot.
Dude, it's so weird.
Yeah, The Wall is super good. And then we have Surrender Monkey. This is a very early 2000s joke.
Yeah.
The French character. Just to blow your mind a little bit, this character comes back.
Of all of them, this character coming back is the weirdest for me. I'll be honest with you, because like,
it's extremely weird. Yeah. Then we have Oxford Blue, who is like a mix between Hugh Grant and The Thing. And then Blind Ali, who is basically Daredevil.
Yes. And even these people are like, these like seem like crude stereotypes. It's like, yeah, that's how American works. That's how American culture works. Yeah. Like, we got to play to our audience.
Yeah. And basically, it says, I want the rights, sign the contract. Where will the fight take place? And we cut to New York, where X-Statix is opening up the new X-Statix mega store. And they, as they're doing this, they're talking about, we have to give it, Henrietta's like, we have to give it something to our fans. This is our work. We have to wave and smile as they're sitting in the limo. And somebody notices this. It's Spider-Man.
Yeah. I also just really like the fact that she's like, wave like this, and like showing the girls how to wave, like with the cup tan, the beauty pageant kind of wave. Mm-hmm. And all of the guys are like, just fuck off. Like, I don't like this.
Yeah. Nobody likes this. Mm-hmm. Everybody hates this shit.
But yeah, Peter Parker is out in his skivvies taking pictures with the Bugle. I've obviously this like, media event, which would make sense. As the team is walking the red carpet, and Mr. Sensitive is telling Henrietta like, hey, you're treating this like it's all some like fun and game, but it's not all just like celebrity glitz and glamour. Like this, we risk our lives to do this, and we like, that's why they give us all of this, is because we risk our lives to save them. Like, at any moment, like, I know it hasn't happened in a couple of days, but any moment, like, some crazy shit could pop off and we could all be dead, which is right when crazy shit starts to pop off and they almost get dead.
Yeah. The Wall comes and grabs her and attacks her. And basically, again, I like this little superhero bit where they're like, maybe we should just let her go. It's like the superhero team is just like, let's, she could just die.
We could just not save her.
Specifically, El Guapo is like, do us all a favor. I'm supposed to be the new recruit, and she's getting all the attention. And Miles is like, maybe you should come out as gay, which I think is very funny. Do you think it would help? Well, it's worth a shot. And they're just sitting around debating whether you should save her. Like Mr. Sense is like, come on, Tyke, she's defenseless. And Anarchist is like, defenseless? She can hit the SOB with her empathy.
Perfect.
So the team isn't doing anything, but in comes Spider-Man.
Yep.
To save the day during our crossover here.
And this inspires Anarchist to actually come in and help, not because he actually wants to help or save her in any way. He just doesn't want Spider-Man to steal their limelight. He doesn't want all the fame to go to him. So that's when he calls the team into action to go save Henrietta.
Yeah. I love all the talk about Spider-Man. Like, he's really runty in real life, isn't he? And the way he's drawn is really like small beans.
It's real diminutive. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I like them them having this this concern. Like, well, I guess it is New York. That's his zone. It was always possible.
Yeah.
He'd pop up.
Just a few years later, they would have had to be dealing with the Runaways popping up all over town.
That's 100% true. Yeah, that's the end of the issue.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be talking about this weird mess of an arc.
Yes.
We'll be continuing that in a couple days.
If you got here from the Crown Facebook page, welcome. We appreciate you listening, tuning in.
Welcome. If you came here from ThatcherFans.net, we're not sorry.
We will take your money, but we will not listen to your views.
We will not have a beer with you.
We will not have a beer with you. Or a pint, even. But thank you.
A pint. We're not going to the pub with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Pandemic times. Can't be going to the pub. Yeah. Patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv is the place to go to support us directly. You can also leave ratings, reviews on various podcast services. And that's really about it. So, yeah, thank you to everybody who's done that. We appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and until next time, take care.
Bye, everybody.